This is most difficult because a lot of people are not gutsy enough to say, I was molested as a child and I'm angry at God. And so I don't want to be a Christian. I don't want to trust God. I have a lot of unforgiveness towards God because he let my parents be on crack. He let my parents abandon me. He let my uncle rape me. He let my family members be killed in gunfire, or he let a car accident or he let a sickness come upon our family. And so it's difficult to say that you are angry with God and that you are resentful and that you have unforgiveness, but it shows up. It shows up, and then you're able to put God in that same prison. And the minute someone else, if you can hold God hostage to unforgiveness, you can hold anyone a hostage to unforgiveness. So it's important that you check with your families, that you check with yourself, and that you check with your congregation. Are you angry with God? And it's going to take, really a safe place for people to admit that, because we want to say, no, I'm not angry with God. He does all things well. But it takes really delving into the unconscious and really into the emotions and letting people understand that it's safe to say I'm disappointed. It's safe to say that I protest. I thought God should have protected me. I thought God should have brought my absent parent home. I thought God should have healed my loved one. You get to say that, because all of that unforgiveness, if it's not cleaned out, it will continue to spread throughout every relationship. It begins with the individual, then it goes into relationships, and then it goes into the community. So you are just accumulating people in your cell of unforgiveness. And you can't live your life if you're managing the cell of unforgiveness and making sure the door's locked and passing by and making sure everyone's still where you left them, because you can't move away from the jail cell because you're guarding those that you have in the jail cell of unforgiveness. So your life is uneventful, and you're always on the lookout to arrest somebody else and put them in the jail of unforgiveness. So it's really important that we pay attention to that. So the elements of unforgiveness, these are some of the elements, that when there's unforgiveness, there's shame, there's guilt, there is a feeling of retribution, like you want to pay. You want to pay people back. You want to get vengeance. They're angry at the world, and they're right fighters, and they're usually the people who are willing to participate in riots or uproars or causes, because they're just so angry, and it's obvious that they have a lot of anger in them. And so the paradigm of a person who is dealing with unforgiveness is shifted in negativity. It's just the way they think about things. Don't let them off the hook. If I were you, I wouldn't forgive that. No, you need to go speak up for yourself. Everything is a critical event, and they are always looking to settle the score. And they are the people who say, if I don't get them in the wash, I'll get them in the rinse. And they are very aggressive, and they don't let small offenses go. You'll see them arguing in restaurants, and with any perceived injustice, there seems to be an overreacting because there's so much unforgiveness. And then there's just this people who are living in unforgiveness. They're unrealistic. They just have like a fantasy mindset, and they feel like either two things are happening and that they're unrealistic, that people should be perfect, or people can't make mistakes. That's unrealistic. That's not seeing yourself in clarity, and it's not seeing other people, because sometimes we hold people to a higher degree or responsibility than we hold ourselves. So if you are in unforgiveness, you're unrealistic. You're just not even thinking rationally. You think that, this is just the perfect, or they're demons. So they're devils or they're demons. And so that's unrealistic. So the boundaries are unrealistic with people who have unforgiveness. They're either too rigid, like they're like, no, nobody's going to do this, or you can't, use this, or you can't come to my house, or, they're just so protective. They're overly protective emotionally with their property, with their children. Don't say nothing to my children. And it's just, you can see like the boundaries are just really rigid, and they're not realistic. Or, you can see that with the rigid boundaries that they won't budge. They won't budge. They're just like, no, I'm not forgiving them. No, I don't want to talk to them on the phone. No, they meant that. And no, they're not gonna. I'm not gonna let anybody use me. So it's a really observable rigidness that you are able to see. So let's talk about what the physical cost is for unforgiveness. And again, it's easy to look through families, cancers, high blood pressures, diabetes. Yes, eating has something to do with that, but more impacting is your emotional state and your spiritual state. So again, it's worth repeating. Look at illnesses, look at your illnesses, and look at family patterns of illnesses. Look at what the congregation is dealing with, and you can ask that question. And the way to ask that question is, are you in conflict? Did someone hurt you? Because usually, to say unforgiveness, people will say, oh, I let everybody go. It's better to start with, have you been offended? Have you been hurt? Because that opens the door to how they tell and share their experience. And you're likely to get people to be a little more honest and transparent if you ask the question in that way versus saying, are you dealing with unforgiveness? Because most people say, no, I let it go. I let it go. And they're just so unaware that there's so much unforgiveness still in there. So you have to be strategic when dealing with people who are experiencing unforgiveness. So the body reacts to anger and pain, which is what happens when you are asked to forgive and you're walking in unforgiveness. There has been an offense, and now it is an offense where you lost something or you were hurt and you were offended, or, along those lines, and your body reacts to the issue in a stressful manner. And remember, anger is not bad. It's a protest that I lost something. I don't like something. It's a protest, or I need something. So it's a protest. It's a sensor that's letting you know something in your values and something in your safety is out of balance. So anger in and of itself is not bad. It's an indication that something needs to happen. But when that anger stays for a long time, it can create a flashing light, red light, like an ambulance sound being triggered for years and days. And so it begins to be stressful unto your body, and it triggers your amygdala, the part of your brain where the limbic system is and where the emotions are. And then your sympathetic nervous system is alerted, and with the fight or flight, and you're ready to go. Like you're in a state of, like I have to protect myself, or I have to fight a bear. And so if you're in this position, like I have to fight a bear, and at all times, your body can't sustain that. So think about that, days and nights and years of being in a position to fight a bear. It wears on your body. And during that stress stage, it releases 3 chemicals: cortisol, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. And so epinephrine raises your heart rate, which is not good for your heart, to have an accelerated heart rate. So your poor little heart is working overtime when you're in consistent stress of unforgiveness and offense. And then with the norepinephrine, the adrenaline, it constricts your blood vessels. So not only is your heart working fast, but now your blood vessels are constricted, and it's hard for the blood to get in there, to get throughout the body and to provide oxygen and to help you to be a healthy person. And then the cortisol, it causes inflammation throughout the body. And we know that inflammation has to do with pain and disease. So your body is off course. Your body becomes off course. And that's something that we need to remember, and to let people know that you're not getting away with this unforgiveness, because it is impacting your body significantly. We know that joint pain, people are saying my knees, my back, and we get to investigate, like, okay, if you didn't do anything, if you didn't run cross country and leap walls and, swim all day, and you're basically a person who's inactive, what is causing this? And that can help you get to the root of it. And that's what medical doctors do, and they have been able to do with cancer patients, like I stated earlier, is getting to the social and emotional root of pain. And so the inflammation with the joint pain, the arthritis, the back, the neck, the lower back, it's good to notice patterns if something stressful is going on, or you are injured, or you keep, thinking about the issue and now your back hurts and now your neck hurts. And so all of those issues could be connected to that. It's important to look at that. There's weight gain because of the cortisol. During stressful times, you're holding on to it. Isn't that something? You're holding on to the issues, and now you're holding on to the weight because you're holding on to issues. And then you can have headaches because of the pressure, the inflammation, and the lack of oxygen that's flowing through your body. High blood pressure. We already mentioned cancer, diabetes, and then there's a calcification on your liver. So even your liver can't digest poisons properly because there's a calcification on it because of what the hormones are producing in your body. So the liver's job is to process toxins. So you're full of toxins. Unforgiveness is toxic, and we call people toxic, but we hold on to people and events. And so now our bodies become a representative of what's going on in our relationships. It's toxic. You have skin issues, and then brain damages. It changes your brain. It just creates cell damage, brain damage, all of those things, because we were made to live in love. And when we look at it from a mental health perspective, it causes you to ruminate, right? If you think about it over and over and over again, you become overly obsessed with the event. And so if someone already has a mental health issue, it is going to be more difficult for them to manage forgiveness. And that's important that you let them know that their mental health and their prior traumas do impact their ability to forgive, because awareness is a big part of getting management over your mental health. Awareness, just being aware of, okay, yes, it is harder for me to stop thinking about this because I already have a pre-existing mental health issue. So rumination means you're overly obsessed with the issue, and you just play it back, kind of like a television station that you just keep turning to that station, keep turning to that station. Every time you think about it, you're watching the segment. You're watching the segment. Now, the danger of that is that you are focusing on the negativity. And the brain has already a proclivity to have a negative bias. So meaning that it looks for negative things. And the reason why it looks for negative things is because it's trying to keep you safe. And so if you keep thinking those negative thoughts, you're indeed telling your brain, I'm not safe, and this is the issue. So be on the lookout. It's like drawing a sketch of someone or a circumstance and telling your brain, be on the lookout for this. So you become hypersensitive to it, and your brain becomes more alerted to it, and you continue to think on it because your brain wants to keep you safe. The memory's sole purpose was to keep us safe. And so you keep rehearsing it. You keep drumming it into your system. You keep reliving it. And the thing is, with the hippocampus, where the memories are stored, there is no calendar or timeline. So it's a forever memory in the brain, and it feels recent. That's why people with trauma, they can relive it and they sweat, or they feel like it's still happening, because when you're in your feelings, there is no calendar, there is no time zone. So every offense feels fresh. You can't differentiate in your amygdala and in your feelings the time zone. Time zones have everything to do with your prefrontal cortex, which is your rationale, your school, your university. All of your knowledge happens in your prefrontal cortex. So in your amygdala, you're in the trauma, and your hippocampus and the limbic system, you're just reliving it and feeling it, but you're unable to differentiate between the here and now and the then. So you're re-injured, you can smell it, you can feel it. It's just hard to to get away from it when that rumination is happening. And the memories, they live in cells, they live in neurons. And like I said, the constant remembering of it wraps around, it wraps a protective sheet around it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so the memory gets protected, and it stretches and grows, and it becomes more difficult to forget. Because in the hippocampus, when we talk about memories, the memory, we have like a 2-shelf memory system where things that are important or dangerous, I should say, they're easily accessible on top, and things that are not as dangerous, they live on the bottom. Our safety and, positive experiences. So we have a tendency to focus more on the negative, because the negative is danger. It means that there's not safety. Someone may hurt me. Someone doesn't think I'm valuable. So in our primitive mind, it's like, okay, we have to be safe. And so we keep those memories fresh, and kind of like a refrigerator. Can we use a refrigerator? The refrigerator, if we looked at memories, all of the dangerous stuff, all of the things that we're afraid of, they stay in the top. And then our safety, how people love us, how safe we are, that's in the freezer. And we immediately have access to the refrigerator because that's our proclivity. We have a negative bias. So we move to things that make us, we're concerned about safety. We're concerned about trusting people because this person hurt me. So, I can't trust them. So those memories are easily accessible.